You can see we have obtained some symmetry between the left and right. However, our design is almost complete, but we have 10 meshes for the 3D teeth library, and the initial scan is another mesh.
Hello, everyone. Big welcome. Thank you for joining us today, as always. My name is Jenny, and I'm a part of education team at Medit. Nice to meet everyone. And today we have Dr. Marwan for the first time joining with us. Hello, Doctor.
Hello, Jenny. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here, and it is my honor to speak to to the Medit team and to present a topic that I'm passionate about, which is the digital mockup.
Okay, thank you for being here, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Yeah, it's late afternoon there, right? So did you just finish the treatment for today?
Yes, correct. I had a long day, and today now it's 6 o'clock in Auckland, New Zealand.
Yeah, he's a New Zealand-based dentist and doing diverse activities. So it was hard for me to invite him over here. It's really nice to start a webinar with you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoys the webinar for today. So before starting the webinar, let me introduce about him briefly. So this is a profile page of Dr. Marwan. So he studied dental surgery in AI Mustansiriya University, and then further study was done in Otago University, where he earned a master's degree of aesthetic dentistry. And during this time, he was also a general dentist in private dental clinics in New Zealand. And he is currently a restorative dentist in Clean Teeth Dental. Wow. So it has been over 10 years as a dentist. So when did you start the digital dentistry?
I started digital dentistry 4 years ago.
No.
Around COVID time, where I had the opportunity to move from analog and explore the digital dentistry. I always was an analog believer. However, digital dentistry was started to get popular, and I knew that there is something I'm missing out. So I jumped on board, and it was a learning curve. I started using Mesh Mixer, which is a free software, and that's where I started applying the basic principles of cosmetic dentistry into Mesh Mixer. And that's when I learned how to use these tools, the digital tools. Later on, I came across Medit, and where I started using the Medit scanner i600. In the end, the exposure to Medit was an eye-opener. It was the gate towards all the applications of Medit has to offer. So I had to apply exactly the same principles that I used to work with Mesh Mixer, but it's in much better and refined software. It is Medit it is for dental, while Mesh Mixer it's a generic for everyone. It's technically for 3D designing and sculpting. Once I moved to Medit, I learned how to use the applications, and then it is limitless, the applications using, and that's the beauty of digital dentistry. With the simple UIs that Medit has to offer, what made it easier to absorb and learn. And the idea is when I do a project, the project will grow. Like I'll take it to Medit Design, then I'll export the design to a model builder in order to make a printable, a 3D object. And I do have a 3D printer in-house where I technically design and print my own cases.
So what was the first restoration that you did for the first time? It's digital.
Till this day, I do the hybrid workflow. So I'm not completely digital. I use digital for the planning and the designing stages. And I still use analog workflow to make the ceramic. I use the Emax, pressed Emax layered, hand layered. So
Yeah.
what I think is digital, these are tools and so powerful. However, is for us to understand the theory behind dentistry or cosmetic dentistry or smile design, and then use these tools in order to reach our final goal. And the idea of digital, I always say it's repeatability and scalability and precision and predictability. For these reasons, I'm planning and designing using digital. I used to do it analog. It is possible, but it's not the same.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I think there are a few more things left to introduce about you. So we can find so many academic experiences as well in his profile page. Like he was a founder of DSD, which is an educational platform, and currently he is an executive board member of UZLand Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry, right?
Correct.
Oh, so I think it's really related to the topic for today's webinar.
Yes, the digital mockup.
Yeah.
It is part of the smile design process.
So shall we get started right away, Doctor?
Yes, we can start.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to share with you the steps that I follow in order to do a digital mockup. So you can see on the left hand side is the initial scan, and we are going to use Medit Design App to produce 10 veneers digital wax up from the upper right second premolar to the upper left second premolar. The digital mockup, it's a procedure that is equivalent to the traditional analog wax up. To do the process using Medit Design App, I follow 3 simple steps. Step 1, I import a 3D teeth library into Medit Design App. You can see in here we have 10 teeth ready-made digital library that you can simply drag and drop into Medit Design App. You can design your own library and keep it in Medit Link to use it for your cosmetic cases. I have designed these 10 teeth and pretty much I use them for all my cosmetic cases. The second step is we need to scale the teeth library using the transformation mode, and we need to position these 10 teeth in their favorable and ideal position within the arch. The third step is we need to do editing for the wax up. We remove wherever tooth is shown on the facial surfaces using the edit mode. Let me show you how I'll do these steps. I'll share with you the tips and tricks that I have learned over the years. So we start with the initial scan. So these are the 3D teeth. You can import them either from Medit Link or from your local files. And once you do that, we need to position these teeth in the most favorable and ideal position in order to enhance the smile. We go to transformation mode, we select the teeth that we need to scale and position. You can either use the 3D manipulator to do quick movements or scale. However, I like to use the translate and rotate tool for precise 3D positioning of these teeth. I'll explain the basic principles of using these two tools, the translate and rotate. we're going to activate the grid settings for you to visualize the X and Y and Z axes. So if you imagine the horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is the y-axis. So the z-axis is the line, the imaginary line that is running through, coming towards us and away from us. Let's put that into application. If we would like to translate the 3D teeth library over the x-axis, it means we're going to move the teeth to the left and to the right. While on the y-axis, we're going to move the teeth up and down. For the z-axis, we're going to bring the teeth closer to us and away from us. We can visualize this movement from the occlusal surface. So that's how we use the translate feature. Let's move to the rotate. For the x-axis, if you imagine the horizontal line is a fulcrum, rotating the object over the x will tilt the object backward and forward, while the vertical line will rotate to the left and to the right. And the z-axis will tilt the object to the left and to the right. You don't forget to apply the changes once you are happy with the final position. And that's how I use the combination of X, Y, Z, rotate and translate feature to achieve 100% precision and perfect symmetry left and right. And that's the power of digital dentistry. You can see the upper right canine lying on the same line with the upper left canine. And the same goes on for the premolars. And that's the power of having digital dentistry. You can see the advantage of being digital is repeatability, scalability, predictability, and precision. And now we have finished 2 steps out of the 3-step process for our digital mockup. We did manage to import the 3D teeth library. We did scale and position these 3D teeth library within the arch in their most favorable and ideal position. The 3rd step is the editing mode. What I did duplicate the initial scan in order to keep a copy for our data. You go to edit mode. I like to use polyline selection. We're going to remove all the excess wax up on the occlusal and palatal surfaces because this project that I'm working on is to do a smile design, which is a mock-up only for the facial surfaces. In this case, we're planning to design 10 veneers. Therefore, we don't need the palatal and the occlusal digital wax. So what I'm going to do to select with the polyline this area that I need to delete. You can make the model invisible, then click erase. Now we have holes in the 10 meshes. All what we have to do is click fill holes and then apply. Now we have converted the 10 crowns into 10 veneers. And that's how we managed to modify our 3D teeth library to fit our purpose. The next step, we need to remove the tooth structure that is showing through the facial surfaces and leave the wax up only in order to obtain the reductive mockup, which is the ideal wax up that I'll be using to make my temporary veneers. We're going to use sculpting tools. You can see there are shortcuts you can use to make your workflow faster. My favorite sculpting brushes, the remove brush, followed by smooth a brush. Let's start with the upper right second premolar. You can make it invisible. I'll make a window prep using the remove brush. There are many ways of doing it, but this workflow is personal favorite. Now the smooth brush, and you can lock the wax up so you don't accidentally modify it. You can zoom in, and that's the beauty of digital. You can literally rotate, come closer, look from different angles, and you can unlock. Now we're done removing the tooth structure. I want to adapt that wax up to the gum line. I use the morph tool. I'll just click and drag the wax up to the gum line, then assess from the facial view. We need to change the axial inclination more to the buccal along the cervical area in order to keep that convexity. You can keep modifying the shape and perfecting it to your liking. You can view from the occlusal, change the size of the brush, extend to the mesial. Now we're going to repeat the process on the first premolar as well. So again, we're doing a window prep using the removed brush, followed by smooth brush. And the reality is, the more you do, the better you'll become. The more digital mock-up you do, obviously you'll become faster and better, because there is a learning curve to understand how to use the tools. But I always say the beauty of Medit Design App, it's so simplified yet powerful. These tools are amazingly intuitive, easy to use, simple UI, and user-friendly. With Medit Design, technically the sky is not the limit, the mind is. You can make your wax up as beautiful as you want, and you can import different teeth libraries where you can make every case to look different. You can see how fast it is that we managed to do a wax up for 2 veneers already. And it's repeatable. If we want to make changes, it doesn't take long to make changes. Now we are moving to the canine. Again, the same process. Window prep using removed followed by smooth tool. You can view from the facial, and we can check symmetry with the contralateral canine. The gum, in this particular case, the gum height of the upper left canine is more favorable, so we will need to perform gingivectomy in this particular case. So what I can do place a dot using the horizontal line as a reference, and then you can do a digital gingivectomy. can double check again. Typically, I can design 10 veneers in 1 hour start to finish. And here I'm trying to show you how I do it in real time. So this design will be used as a guide to make the temporary veneers, and also for the ceramist to follow as a reference to make the final ceramic veneers. You can see we have obtained some symmetry between the left and right. However, our design is almost complete, but we have 10 meshes for the 3D teeth library, and the initial scan is another mesh. So we have 11 meshes. We need to merge them together. To do that, you can go to Boolean Union. So this will make them one mesh. And that's our final wax-up. One mesh, and our design is complete. We can have a look at the initial, so that's before and after. You can see from the occlusal, we managed to increase the bulk of the veneers in the upper left quadrant, and we reduced the length of the upper right canine. And this would give us a smile enhancement. And this is my digital workflow. What we can do, it's not only to do a designing process, it is for analysis as well. So for example, we can see the upper right canine needed quite a bit of tooth removal. So we want to assess how much tooth structure needs to be removed if we want to go ahead with veneers. So you can go to measurement mode and you can place a cross section, and then you can measure precisely to see how much tooth structure we need to remove. So 0.8 millimeters of tooth structure will need to be removed from the canine. And if we want to give some space for the ceramic, of course, we'll need some more prep. And typically in a case like this, an orthodontic treatment will be planned. This tooth would benefit from orthodontic intrusion, as this would minimize the amount of tooth structure that needs to be removed, and also would avoid the necessity of gingivectomy or crown lengthening procedure. So that's how easy to use these tools, and they are so precise, and that's why digital dentistry has changed the way I practice. And I really hope that every dentist passionate to give the best to their patient to learn these tools, as obviously there is a learning curve. The sooner someone can master these tools, the better they'll become. And digital dentistry is not the future anymore, it's the present, and we practice it every day. The reason why I love Medit Link is for the simplicity of these apps. And you can see the before and after. It's a huge difference. You can see on the right hand side we have balance and harmony, we have symmetry, and you can see I showed you how to do the digital process of the mock. If you're interested in cosmetic work, if you want to learn how I do my smile design process, if you want to learn how to make the template, the DSD template, if you want to get the 3D teeth library for the 10 veneers, I would highly recommend to check DSD Made Easy. So again, it's www.dsdmadeeasy.com. And in that workflow, I'll share with you how I design my cases, my smile makeover cases, start to finish. I'll show you the first half of the process, which is 2D digital smile design using Keynote or PowerPoint, and then you'll be able to get a DSD template and also a 3D teeth library, and then you'll learn the link between the 2D and 3D, how to link it. It's so important to understand how it works. And then you'll be able to align your STL with the smile of the patient. This is so important. This is the only way in order to get precision and symmetry. And you can see in here the 3D teeth library being positioned over the DSD template, and the STL, the initial scan, over the DSD, the same DSD template. And that's the only way to get control over the process using technically free software. And yeah, once you're complete, you can save the project. Thank you so much for the opportunity that Medit Link has given me. Thank you for watching.
Okay, thank you for sharing all your tips with us, Dr. Marwan. So let's move on to Q&A sessions. Okay, so today we have three questions total. So I'll start with the first one. Question number 1. Can we customize the tooth library and save it for the future use?
The answer is 100% yes. And that's what I've been doing. I have 10 teeth library, which is from the second premolar to the second premolar. And technically, I have shaped it to the way I like. And then I saved it so we can simply export the design of the teeth that we're going to create in Medit Design App. And we can export it to Medit Link, or we can export it to our desktop, for example, and save it there. So we can literally drag and drop to use it for future projects.
Oh, I think everyone must be so curious about the customized tooth library. So maybe that would be so great if you can deal with it next time.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Question number 2. How do you ensure the perfect margin? Are there any clinical tips to check the real margin of the crown?
All right. So obviously, we would rely on retraction. Gingival retraction is key, because whether it's an analog, an impression, or it's a digital scan, it's the gingival retraction is the same. And it's all about soft tissue retraction. Once we prep the margin, let's say equigingival, it's so important to pack retraction cords. And my preference, I pack 2 retraction cords. The first one would give me vertical displacement, and I would typically use a smaller cord like 000. The second cord that I'll pack which is typically larger chord, I would use a 1-0, and that would give me horizontal displacement for the gum. And before I get ready to scan or before I take an impression, I remove only the top chord, the one that gave me horizontal displacement. And once I do that, I can just scan or take an impression, and this would give us not only the margin, but also would capture beyond the margin. And that is so crucial to predict the emergence profile, because we understand digital dentistry is so precise and so accurate. It's possible to get perfect fit of ceramic to tooth structure. However, we need to get not only the margin, but to capture beyond the margin in order to predict the convexity of the restoration along the gum line, which is the emergence profile. And if we do that, this would allow us to get restoration that are cleansable, not over contoured, where plaque would accumulate and would cause long-term gum inflammation. And that's the answer. And the other tip that I would give, obviously, when we export the scan to the lab, I would recommend exporting it in PLY format rather than STL format. And the difference, we know already, the PLY is, it is like STL 3D file, but it has color. And the technician usually, they can switch the color on and off. And obviously they'll choose, they'll use the pink and white to distinguish between tooth and gum.
I think that was real clinical tips for everyone. Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, the last one. Question number 3. Do you perform model-less crown restorations? What do you think is the key to achieving successful model-less restorations?
Well, and it is a personal preference. Myself, I haven't been doing model-less yet. However, in the future, I might change. As I said, I've been doing the hybrid workflow where I work with a model, especially working in the aesthetic zone. There are so many things we need to take it into our hands and do hand finishing and layering. And it's not only the fit. And I think the model-less to get in the aesthetic zone is limited. Always human hand finishing and the final touches is so important. However, the model-less for single tooth posterior dentistry, it has its application. And for example, the CEREC system, it is a model-less workflow. What I think, my personal preference, why I was away from the model-less, because again, I don't use pressed, I use pressed ceramic, I don't use mold ceramic restorations. So I don't mold the ceramic, I do the press and hand layered. So technically we need a model in order to make the contact adjustment and the wax up and the investment and the loss wax technique. So it is an analog workflow. However, what I think, my theory, that even though we are dealing with 3D softwares and 3D tools, the screen that we are viewing our design on, it's a 2D screen. So there is always one dimension is missing, the depth is missing. And the reason why, for me, even when I design my cases or when I do orthodontic analysis, I would 3D print the initial study models and I'll hold it in hand and I'll be able to view it in hand. It would give me another just that missing information from the screen. Now, I think in the future, what would replace that missing dimension is something like virtual reality, like Apple Vision. And that would probably give us that missing dimension. And probably till then, I'll be feeling more comfortable doing it model-less 100%.
I think it's because you're doing for aesthetic zone, right?
Correct. 100%, yes.
This is just my personal question. So if you're doing aesthetic zone, then what kind of color do you print it for the model? Because for aesthetic area, the color and shade is very important. And if the printed model is gray color or blue color, it's hard to match the real shade. So is there any clinical tip or what's your preference of the color?
The model that I've been printing is the normal stone color,
No.
and because I think that's what our technicians in the lab are comfortable with, and they are used to the stone color, the light brown color. And yeah, so that's what we've been doing. The again, the planning stage, it will be all done by me. However, the color of the resin, I've been using the normal color. I didn't use any other color.
Okay. Thank you for answering all the questions for today. Yeah, that's all about it for today. So you'll be able to watch this webinar on our YouTube channel and Medit Academy once it's completed. Thank you for being here, Doctor.
My pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye, Jenny. See you.